At the beginning of 2025, the Wall Street Journal reported that the Kremlin created a special unit to orchestrate sabotage and attacks in Europe. According to Western intelligence, the Department of Special Tasks was formed in 2023. Its operatives infiltrate the structures and enterprises of Western military-industrial complexes, universities, and companies, while also planning and executing kidnappings and assassinations. According to journalists, this special service is behind the assassination attempt on the CEO of Rheinmetall, the arson of parcels handled by a German express delivery company, and the fire at the Diehl defense factory in Berlin. The unit is led by the notorious Colonel General Andrei Averyanov. He is wanted by Czech police as the organizer of ammunition depot explosions in 2014. Why is Russia destabilizing European society? How is the Kremlin building its espionage network in the EU? And can these sabotages halt Europe's military support for Ukraine? On May 9, 2024, a large-scale fire broke out at the IKEA shopping center in Vilnius. According to criminal case materials, explosives with a timer were planted in the store. Lithuanian prosecutors state that the perpetrators were linked to Russian special services through multiple intermediaries. At the same time, Polish Prime Minister Donald Tusk announced the arrest of 9 members of a suspected Russian spy network. They were involved in sabotage operations in Poland and the Baltic States. Russian handlers often recruit local operatives, providing instructions via telegram and paying each a few thousand euros.
After the collapse of the Soviet Union and even before, Russia focused heavily on using diplomatic cover. Since the war began in 2014, diplomatic cover became not exactly dangerous, but simply less effective. Many pseudo-diplomats, operating as intelligence officers or special service agents under diplomatic guise, were active in European countries. They were expelled. After that, a decision was made to shift to using locally recruited agents. Agents embedded under legal status, some likely from Soviet times, and to actively exploit the diaspora, which is quite substantial and feels very comfortable in Europe. Especially after the significant exodus following the start of full-scale hostilities in 2022, about 3 million people left Russia, by rough estimates. Implanting 1,000 to 2,000 agents into this number required no effort. These people are typically dependent. They may have left behind property, relatives, or businesses in Russia. Thus, influencing them, pressuring them, obtaining information, and using them for their purposes poses no problem. They choose places where they can actively use their agents and demonstrate that they can organize such large-scale operations at any moment.
On May 12, 2024, a fire broke out in one of Warsaw's shopping centers, destroying 1,400 stores and customer service points. In May of this year, Prime Minister Donald Tusk stated that it was a deliberate arson ordered by Russian special services. He added that Polish security forces have evidence pointing to the involvement of Russian agents. Later, it became known that Poland revoked permission for the Russian consulate in Krakow to operate due to the Russian special services role in the incident.
I have decided to close the Russian consulate in Krakow. This is because our Ministry of Justice and Security Services found evidence that Russia was behind an act of arson committed in Poland a year ago. It was a massive fire in a Warsaw shopping center, where by fortunate chance, no one was injured. This is completely unacceptable, so the Russian consulate will have to leave. They still have one more. If these attacks continue, we will take further measures.
According to most European intelligence agencies, last year Russia carried out approximately 50 to 100 diversionary sabotage acts in European countries. At least, that's how Western special services classify and interpret them. Various cases of arson, sabotage, and disruptions that occurred in 2024 across Europe. Russia is now more actively using messengers to recruit citizens, primarily those willing to cooperate for ideological or financial reasons. The main challenge lies in the technical ability to monitor messages in messengers and respond promptly to such practices. The developed community of Western countries is moving in this direction, and I believe the arrest of Telegram founder Durov in Paris last year fits into this picture of attempts to control various channels used by Russian special services, including for sabotage in European countries.
In October 2023, The Insider published an investigation claiming that Russia conducted sabotage in Europe long before the war against Ukraine. According to journalists, GRU Unit 29155, led by General Averyanov, has been orchestrating explosions since 2011, during a period when Russia was still a member of the G8 and a major economic partner of many Western countries. The investigation alleges that Averyanov's group was behind the explosions of arms depots in Bulgaria in 2011 and the Czech Republic in 2014. This unit also organized the assassination attempt on the Skripals and Bulgarian arms dealer Emilian Gebrev. According to Western intelligence, since 2022, Russia's subversive operations are part of a campaign to halt military support for Ukraine. This is why Russians target Western logistics. In June last year, a series of fires occurred at warehouses of a German express delivery company in the UK, Germany, and Poland. Investigations revealed that items packed in parcels contained homemade incendiary devices. The fires occurred on July 19th, 20th, and 21 in Birmingham, UK, Leipzig, Germany, and near Warsaw, Poland. Reuters previously reported that the devices were triggered by pre-installed timers, repurposed from inexpensive Chinese electronics. Their effect was amplified by tubes of flammable gel disguised as cosmetics.
Why do they periodically destroy post offices in Ukraine? Because post offices, especially Nova Poshta, are a hub that facilitates many non-governmental operations. So they targeted a major global postal company to test the possibility of remote incendiary devices, which were supposed to ignite not at warehouses but in the air when a plane was flying to the United States or another country. This would, first, conceal their involvement, as all traces would be destroyed. Second, it would test the feasibility of using such methods for terrorist acts of intimidation. This is purely terrorist tactics, by the way, used by Muslim fundamentalists in Egypt against a Russian airline plane, where an explosive device wasn't detonated but caused a fire over the desert, leading to a crash. This clearly shows the hallmark not just of a terrorist organization, but of a terrorist state.
The Guardian revealed details of the explosion investigations. According to journalists, the coordinator of the operations at the German express delivery company's warehouses in the UK, Germany, and Poland was Russian citizen Alexander Bezrukavi, who is currently in custody in Poland awaiting trial. The organizer of the explosions was likely Russian military intelligence. Bezrukavi, a repeatedly convicted native of Rostov-on-Don, is wanted for criminal activities. It is likely that the GRU recruited him. The warehouse fires were presumably a test run for a future Russian plan to detonate similar packages in the air during cargo flights to the US and Canada.
I think Russia will focus on instilling fear in Europe of a major continental war with Russia. Russia will more actively conduct cyber attacks and create threats of sabotage deep within European countries. Russia will more aggressively exploit Europe's vulnerabilities in energy systems and cyberspace, and we will see this in the coming years. The blackout on the Iberian Peninsula was likely the first serious warning. The Kremlin is interested in creating an atmosphere of nervousness and fear among European societies and financial elites involved in aiding Ukraine, particularly European military-industrial complexes. Even without actually eliminating certain individuals, such as heads of European defense companies, Russia achieves its goal of intimidation and creating a climate of fear. How effective is this tactic? It's hard to judge yet. Europe continues to support Ukraine, but at the level of personal phobias and certain sentiments in professional communities, it may affect the speed or decisiveness of decisions regarding aid to Ukraine.
One of the targets of Russian sabotage is the European military-industrial complex. In July last year, US and German intelligence thwarted Russia's preparations for an assassination attempt on Armin Paperger, CEO of the German defense conglomerate Rheinmetall. According to CNN, this was one of the Kremlin's planned attacks on the leadership of European arms manufacturers. Rheinmetall is the largest producer of 155mm artillery shells. Additionally, the company has a joint venture with Ukraine for producing armored vehicles and other weapons.
Left radical structures were actively used against Rheinmetall, stirred up with claims that the factory would start production, worsening our environmental situation. An interesting narrative. This is a company that decided to fully produce weapons in Ukraine, establishing not one but 3 factories and producing a tank in Ukraine that isn't even in service in Germany. If we know about Leopards, this means the next step is producing Panthers. These Panthers may not necessarily be in service with Ukraine, but Ukraine's tank industry could be integrated into the Western factory system. This is a significant step, and Russia doesn't like it.
Russia hires people for various tasks, from setting fire to warehouses linked to arms supplies to minor acts of vandalism. The goal is to halt Western arms supplies to Ukraine and undermine public support.
Destabilizing the situation, undermining the economic capabilities of countries helping Ukraine. In Poland, the activity is simply off the charts, on railways, around the airport in Rzeszów, which is effectively a hub. They actively use agents, including under false flags, Poles, Belarusians, and even Ukrainians, sometimes unwittingly. I sense the work of Polish special services, which are actively uncovering entire sabotage groups.
Since 2022, Russian espionage in Europe has scaled up. The Kremlin recruits those with financial problems or susceptibility to influence for minor sabotage tasks. Russia recruits Ukrainians abroad to discredit their standing in Western societies.
Russian special services use similar tactics and methodologies as in Ukraine, employing marginal individuals or people with specific ideological beliefs for various sabotages. Russian special services monitor public groups and thematic communities to find people who leave comments or show activity, allowing them to directly target individuals with financial or ideological motivations. They apply the same approach in European countries, with a primary interest in Ukrainian citizens who have moved to Europe, as well as Belarusians and Russian-speaking individuals in EU countries. This enables Russian special services to more actively use ordinary citizens for sabotage, creating a fog of uncertainty in society and heightening nervousness and anticipation of war.
However, recruitment and infiltration of spies also occur at higher levels. In January 2024, Estonian authorities detained Russian academic Vyacheslav Morozov, suspected of spying for Russia. Since 2010, Morozov had worked as a professor of international political theory at the University of Tartu. In June, he was sentenced to 6 years and 3 months in prison. Morozov was found guilty of acting in the interests of a foreign intelligence service against the Estonian Republic.
This case adds to more than a dozen previous ones and illustrates the Russian Special Services' efforts to infiltrate various spheres of Estonian life, including academia.
Russia traditionally uses academic diplomacy for purposes including intelligence and recruitment within academic circles, including in the EU. I'd cite the example of the People's Friendship University, founded in Moscow in the early 1960s, better known as Patrice Lumumba University. Many leaders from African countries and the global south were educated there. At the same time, Russia doesn't overlook opportunities provided by Russia's sympathizers in European academic communities, often among radical, typically left-wing groups who can be used for public actions. We see this in southern European countries, especially Italy, where there are strong left-leaning, historically communist practices and ties with Russia. In this academic environment, Russia continues to seek sympathizers who can promote pro-Russian narratives both in academia and through public actions, which Russia then amplifies through its media network.
In May this year, London's Central Criminal Court, Old Bailey, sentenced 6 Bulgarian citizens residing in the UK. They were found guilty of spying across Europe in Russia's interests. It was alleged that the group was part of a broader spy network engaged in surveillance and intelligence operations from 2020 to 2023. The investigation revealed that the group, in particular, monitored a U.S. military facility in Germany where Ukrainian soldiers might have been trained. In January alone this year, unknown drones were spotted 6 times over the Bundeswehr airbase in Schwetzingen. Der Spiegel reported that German authorities are investigating a case suspected of espionage. The report also noted that vehicles with diplomatic plates registered to the Russian embassy in Berlin were repeatedly seen near military bases. In March 2025, the White Paper, the key document on European defense through 2030, was published in Brussels. According to its findings, Russia will remain a fundamental threat to European security in the foreseeable future. Kremlin sabotage, cyber attacks, and disinformation in European countries aim to intimidate and destabilize societies, as well as undermine financial and military support for Ukraine. Only by uniting can the EU and Ukraine counter the Kremlin's aggressive actions.
We are already in an active, hot phase, or whatever you call it, of war on European territory, using explosives, weapons, and poison, with agents actively deployed. War can take various forms, including countering sabotage. Fortunately, Germany has realized this and is actively working on it. There's understanding among Czech, French, and now Italian special services, which have started working actively. Scandinavian countries have effectively formed a strong bloc. The Baltic States' high-quality work is helping in this regard. There's understanding, not as fast as we'd like, but it exists. Russia's goal is to divide, destroy unity, turn everyone against each other, and cast doubt on the entire security system built over the last 80 years in Europe and the Western world.